is running for politics, and he has good ideas, and I would like to help him if possible.
Can John, did you mention something about the Muslim Brotherhood taking over Chicago or trying to? I didn't understand. Can you explain what's going on?
I didn't bring that up, but I will say the Nation of Islam in Stony Park has some of the most insane radical followers and some of the most toxic, insane rhetoric I've ever heard in my life. And Louis Farrakhan is nothing but a charlatan, a liar, a fraud, and he's no gentleman.
Yeah, would you tell us what you do with the clubhouse, though, for the new people as well?
Sure. So for 5 years, also this is another category of recordings that I've made, which is Elon Musk underneath the pen name Adrian Dittman. I have been recording him more than anybody. So if you just go to YouTube and you type in Adrian Dittman, Elon Musk, you will come across my videos. I have many, many unrecorded rooms with Elon Musk discussing the most banal, obnoxious, stupid, low IQ shit you could possibly imagine. Burping, cooking steaks, picking his ass, being a pig, being a schmuck. And he hates the fact that these videos exist. So across my maybe 30 X accounts, Adrian Dittman has blocked many, many of my John Kitover campaign accounts because as a patriotic American, I knew that Elon Musk, is not necessarily born and bred in America. And he went on television and said, this is the biggest revolution since the founders' revolution. Where is he at today? Kicked out of the office, kicked out of any kind of involvement, and he's playing Path of Exile every night, and it's pathetic. So if you're the richest guy in the world, but yet you play video games in the dark in your underpants every night and live stream it on X, and yes, you have the coolest platform and the best H-1B visa Indian software developers making the best social media audio connection capability communication. Wow, Elon. But his fat ass, who cooks butter steaks with tallow, is still playing video games every night. And ladies and gentlemen, that's pathetic.
Actually, it's worse than that. He doesn't play video games. He's been caught faking this. And the entire Path of Exile community has called him out for it. The Times of India has reported on this. This man is a pathological liar when it comes to video games because of the type of women he's attracted to. So he'll always lie about these things to try to impress them. He has so many issues with his personality that people don't speak about because no one wants to be demonetized on this app.
I have no idea what you guys just said. At all.
Okay, so Elon Musk has an account called Adrian Dittman.
Elon Musk, a loser, video game player, underwear, butt scratcher.
He's got 2 T's and 2 N's in Dittman. That is Elon Musk's burner account or nom de plume, his pen name, because he doesn't want it publicly. But the thing is, now he records everything. But I have him in unrecorded spaces saying the most heinous, vile, stupid, obnoxious, ketamine-induced shit you ever heard. I mean, tripping on ketamine, talking all night long, rambling about nothing.
John, what is he? You're a racist. You're just a racist. You're a racist. Anyway, John Kitover does a good Elon Musk impression.
Who's talking? I can't see.
It's me, Zach De La Ruta. It shows you as a listener still on my screen. That's why I was confusing. Good to hear you, though. I sent you a follow, and I'll send you a message if I can help on any of the fundraising side. I might have some lists for you that you might want. Sounds good. Thanks. Please follow me on TikTok. I'm very inactive on X, but I'm growing on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but if you could share stuff with me, I'm happy to repost it on Instagram. Mike Benz follows me too on there, so I get some pretty good views, even though I only got 400 or 500 followers.
Yeah, so the only reason, I have a beef with Elon Musk is because I don't know, he kind of shot himself in the foot, but Doge is still in place. And I regularly kept track of Doge. That is the federal procurement and acquisition platform on Oracle. I used to work on it as an employee at the United States Treasury doing IRS office remodeling work and project management and facilities management. So all those screenshots come straight out of a government an Oracle database. And a lot of the spending is for DEI, woke, gender, climate, international education bullshit grants. So the education industry is a huge fraud ring in federal contracting. It's always been like that in education. Many people get investigated by the FBI and go to jail for fraudulent internal training in the for-profit education or public education industry, which is again a $1 trillion annual year industry because of property taxes. The Department of Education spends $250 billion a year educating the population of this country. And we spend collectively 1.1 trillion because of all the property taxes. Are we getting a good return on investment? Are people becoming smarter, or is brain rot just starting?
100%. Look at it. It is brain rotting. And the same with the way they changed the math system, the way that they've changed the gender ideologies to confuse kids, to separate them from their parents. And the amount of shit that CPS is able to do now, too, in the mental health evaluation forms that are going on in Illinois that people think they have to do. One of the things that I'm wondering is, did they change the definition of mandate in Illinois? Because the way they're trying to articulate some of these things now is that they're just suggestions. The school system is just, it's so concerning. And we need to start shaming people into getting involved. I don't know any parents that are on school boards. All my friends' parents growing up were parts of PTAs, PTOs, and they were always up at the schools. Now, nobody knows anything, and they're just doing travel sports.
I totally agree, Timmy. Parents really do need to get involved with the school. It's really, really important because it's really scary.
John, are you doing anything as far as doing any local schools, or I don't even know can we do anything like that to help you with local school boards or parent groups and stuff like that too?
Well, honestly, social media audio is the quickest and best way to have a conference call with anybody. In terms of going to events, I literally have to do a lot of the muscle work in getting these signatures on these petitions. I'd like to personally get over 300 to 500. And that requires me to essentially get on the road because I live in Chicago and I have to get to Rockford and Peoria and start gathering more signatures individually and going to local events. But fundraising here is one way to help. So anytime you want to create a room, you can message me on X. You can text me on my campaign line at 312-498-0517. That's the campaign cell phone. You can text that number anytime. Follow this profile, go on my profile, view at the top. I got about 10 other John Kitover, Illinois X accounts going. Follow all of those, retweet some of my content, message me on X in the inbox so we can exchange information, or other handles, Instagram, YouTube. So again, I have been secretly recording Clubhouse for 5 years, which is a social audio app. And it's just littered with radical, insane, sociopathic liberal Democrats who wish death upon MAGA Trump supporters, who literally provoke and say that MAGA Trump supporters wish death upon you and want you and your children to die. That's the kind of messaging they put out in those rooms. So a lot of people know me on Clubhouse because they know I'm recording, and I post the link to the YouTube and I say, hey, you guys are live on YouTube. Congratulations, you're all stars. And so they know who I am. And they target me. I have many videos of Democrats wishing death upon me, hoping my cell phones explode and burst into flames and I burn and die in my house. All kinds of horrible death threats. It's been an interesting ride so far. But the thing is, I just live stream it. And now because I'm running for Congress, YouTube has been a little less authoritarian and a little less censored. But they still are removing my videos. And it's because people are complaining from Clubhouse because They were gloating and jubilant over Charlie Kirk's death. We're so happy. He went on to glory. They were so happy that that dead racist Nazi's dead. All that type of bullshit. So I caught them at their worst moment, their deepest psychological, sociopathological, psychotic, homicidal ideation moment, and they don't like it. And we reported them to charliesmurders.com, and we reported it to their managers at the corporations that they work at and the small businesses they work at. We got about 6 people terminated, and today is our celebration day.
Wow, great work. How many people were in the room that you were recording?
I think there were probably 120, 150 people in the clubhouse room. It's all on YouTube. You can, I can text you or message you the politically correct Charlie Kirk death celebration video. You can watch it.
What would you say over your 5 years of research? What percentage of these are just little bitches that are just going to continue to try to dog whistle, and what percentage of these are people we really need to be concerned about crossing paths with in the street?
Well, I've had people create fake Darren LaHood profiles to attack me. But the funny thing is it all caves in on themselves, because when you're a gay black man screaming to the top of your lungs that Darren LaHood is going to kick your ass, it never looks good for what their actual goal is, which is to defame, harass, libel, slander me. So really, I record my office. I'm just live streaming my home office. And I'll be damned if that doesn't cause all kinds of controversies. People don't like the way I use my phone. I say, well, you use your phone the way you want to use your phone. I'll use my phone and all the social apps I want to use the way I want to use it. I'm just live streaming myself. So it's not me that has the issue. It's the people who have been attacking me or slandering me or libeling me. And I just post legal notices on X. I say, you're going to be sued. You know, this is a personal injury lawsuit. So I fight fire with fire. I'm very legalistic and law-oriented. I believe, in the law and in the strength of the law. That's our joy. And the more you read the Constitution, the better. I have many videos of me reading the Constitution in its entirety, and I still don't, have it memorized. But I used Grok to generate 10 bullet point extracts from the Constitution, from the Declaration. So we can use Grok in a way to analyze or game theory spending priorities in an intelligent, transparent way. I think that's, the role of any congressperson or senator is to provide education and how they are determining whether to vote yay or nay.
What, so you're saying, if I'm hearing you correct too, then, would that be just a yay or nay on every single bill, even if they try to do an omnibus bill or other things? I might be skewing this a little bit. With Grok and other tools, could you vote on every issue in a bill, even though you got to only vote on one bill at a time?
I just, on all of our petitions, we've generated over 500. I ask a lot of the circulators and petition signer gatherers, say, hey, ask the people who are signing, what are your top 3 priorities, and write it on the back of that petition. Do you know what do you think the survey says with regards to what are the signers of these petitions and future voters? What do you think their priorities are?
Safety. Cost of living. Anybody else want to give a guess?
Taxes, cost of living, immigration, safety, risk, crime. At least that's what I care about. Although at this point, the amount of crazy shit on the internet, if I meet a politician who has these opinions on Jews, I'm like, well, you're just really low IQ at this point.
Yeah, the one that always sticks out for me, and that one politician in New York who never got elected who said the rent is too damn high. That is the one that constantly came up when I was getting petitions signed. Why are some people getting Section 8 housing and housing vouchers? Meanwhile, I got to go to work and pay my $1,200, $1,300 a month for fucking rent and all the utilities. So I'm just saying, say my mantra: stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing.
In an ideal situation, what would you want property tax to be?
Ideally, it's zero. Duh. Do we have to state the fucking obvious anymore? Do we need a survey says, do I want to pay more in taxes? Do I want to pay less in taxes? Or do I want to pay fucking no taxes? Obviously, everybody, let me give you another dosage of common sense here. Taxation is theft. I don't want to pay taxes, and neither should you, unless you're stupid. Okay, it's just fucking common sense at this point, everybody.
The country ran great without taxes forever. We even started a country without taxes because of taxes. And it became a tool of control. They're taxing. Think about how gentrification, all right? Gentrification is a weapon to tax out the people you don't want to be a part of the community anymore. BlackRock will literally buy 2 houses in the hood or in another area, and they'll build a luxury house or something. They'll build that one house on the block. Then they'll sell a house to another fund that they own, which creates a transaction which raises the property value and starts taxing people out. Everybody forgets that 95% of the world is not of the investment class, which means that they do not have extra money to invest in the stock market. So when they tell you what the S&P is doing, they're only telling you how rich people are doing, really. They're not telling you how the working class is doing. So when they raise tax increases, it might sound like, only $300 extra bucks a year. When these people are living check to check and they've lived in a community, they're still making the same money they've made at a good paying job that they were usually able to afford to put food on their table, send their kids to school. Now suddenly they can't, and they're on a fixed income, and they don't have an ability to get side hustle money. And they've been doing this strategically for decades, where they tax people out. My people, white Irish Catholic people, have been taxed out of every fucking neighborhood in Chicago. People don't want to admit it because there's still white people from Lake Forest living there now.
Listen, Congress and the Senate are the enemies of the people. I'm telling you, we have to stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing. The enemies of we the people are most likely the Democrats, the Congress people, and the senators. It's fucking obvious. They're the ones cutting the checks. They're the ones allocating the spending and the appropriation. They're the ones with all the lobbyists in their emails at their offices on K Street. It's a big racket, and they're skimming. Kick them out, primary them, and put patriotic Americans who have risen up in their 30s or 40s to replace these 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old cronies borrowing, spending, and taxing you. It's obvious what we have to do.
Do you know what's created the most billionaires in the past 3 years? It's debt. Private debt funds have created the new hedge fund billionaires the past couple of years. So you are 1,000,000,000% correct. Stop spending, stop borrowing, stop taxes.
You have to keep what you got and just stop borrowing, stop spending, and stop taxing. We're in a good position and in a good place. But if you look at and you deconstruct the big, beautiful bill and you ask Grok to prioritize spending and which companies, specifically the amounts, should be retracted by a defund the big, beautiful bill, it's all right there. We're just taxing ourselves and giving it away to Fortune 500 corporations through tax credits. It's our debt. It's our taxes that we're going to have to pay. It's transference of taxation into debt for individual income tax filers. The IRS takes in $5 trillion a year. We're spending 7.1. And it's been going on for 20 years like this. And Darren LaHood, who I'm running against, has created over $20 trillion in debt by voting yay on HR acts. I'm going to vote no on every HR act, appropriation, which is spending money. Again, stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing. That means nay on HR acts. The HEROES Act, the CARES Act, $5 trillion on a COVID-19 response. The average American individual debt to the federal government has leaped from $100,000 to $400,000 per individual American. It's insane how much we owe at the individual level now. So it's the price of a beautiful house. Everybody owes a house to the government. Is everybody here prepared to go build a fucking house, sell it, and give the proceeds to the government? No. But that's the financial reality.
John, have you given any thoughts to what kind of changes outside of the money flow can be done to the education system?
Yeah, offer homeschooling here on X. Offer homeschooling on Clubhouse. Offer homeschooling on Zoom. Individual parents, educators, you don't need a staff and an administrative support staff and an executive staff and a parent teachers association and a district staff and an elected district president who's making $400,000 a year and a $400,000 pension. You don't need any of that. You need people reading books. Okay, they are external hard drives of intelligence. Until people start reading books as opposed to scrolling 18 miles a day, looking at TikTok and Instagram, we're not talking about anything. People are completely brainwashed, walking around like drones of their satellite cell phone prison, which has captured their mind. Until you start seeing people at libraries again or publishing photos and videos of what they're reading or they're in book clubs, I don't know where people think education comes from. You think you just stick a wire up your ass and it uploads some intelligence to your brain?
No, homeschooling is not the answer to that. I understand the sentiment of it, but that is not the answer. Timmy's right about parents need to be getting more involved because we have to turn the education system around because kids have to go to school. They need to be with their friends and they need to be social to combat, all of this phone usage. So there has to be another answer.
I get it, but what I'm telling you is if we actually stopped borrowing and stopped spending borrowed money, none of this could be funded anymore because there's no money there. At $250 billion for the DOE, and people are taking out loans to pay their property taxes. So you can pay the salary and the facilities costs on a building. I'm just telling you that at 25 years of war and a pandemic, scamdemic, where our debt leaped from 20 trillion to fucking 40 trillion overnight in what feels just like 1,000 days, the debt went up that much money. I'm just telling you, at that rate of borrowing and spending, by 2050, we'll be paying $4 trillion a year to service our debt. And right now we have a $37 trillion mortgage with $1 trillion interest payment. That doesn't include premiums. And the point is we have $100 trillion in unfunded debt liabilities. So all I'm saying is if we were to actually try to fix the economy and get out of this unlimited borrowing and spending and CR kick the can down the road with plus the omnibus bills, none of this can exist anymore because it's completely insolvent. So I'm just telling you that's the real financial situation, but we're living in an artificial economy where 40% of it is all borrowed and all spent.
So this is a good thing too. I agree and disagree with you. I agree with you 100% about the debt, unsustainable. I just posted a documentary that I suggest everyone watch if they haven't. It's called Join or Die. It's on Netflix. Harvard professor behind the book Bowling Alone did a documentary. And it's about the civic communities, the Knights Club of Columbus, the Elks Lodge, the Rotary Club, and how there used to be a bowling league every single day in every single town in America. And communities came together and they discussed. We do need something, maybe it's not a school, but we need something where kids come together and they become part of a society and a community and sports and things like that. And with the advancements in AI, you're not paid for what you memorize in college anymore. Critical thinking is going to become more important than ever and more general.
It's a little too mild for me. How about something a little more macho?
One hour in the art.
Are you sure it goes with your dress?
And then they go into whatever else. Spend 30 minutes a day with their kids. People really look at it. 30 minutes spent programming kids and the eyewitness.
What's going on here? I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Hey man, you got to have some.
Homeschooling it's not conducive for everyone because most families have two parents who work. And like I said, I think kids need to be with other kids. They need to be social. They need to go to school. School is truly amazing and wonderful. And I know homeschooling works for some families, but I think for the most part in America, school is so important. I mean, it might be the most important thing for children.
Yeah, but that's your opinion. And if you ask the average homeowner who's paying 65% of their property taxes are going to the salaries and the facility expenses of Chicago Public Schools, if you were to ask them, can I opt out? I don't want to pay 65% of my property tax bill anymore. So go to the department so go to schools and the educators. A lot of people want to opt out. I'm just saying that's your opinion, but there can be a financial time in the history of Chicago where we are able to separate our property taxes from the educators and the education industrial complex in this city.
Well, how's Florida handling it? Because aren't they getting rid of their property taxes? They're not getting rid of their schools.
I'm just saying it's something we have to consider as a nation because the country's that broke. And at 37 trillion going to 50 trillion, this won't end well. But again, it's just debt negotiation. Maybe we should just keep spending recklessly with no personal responsibility, self-governance, or understanding of financial and economic realities. We can all just keep being children and bury our heads in the ground and say, let's just keep borrowing, spending, and taxing.
Well, let me maybe rephrase the question. Are you saying, period, ever, homeschool is the way to go, or just because we have something like the NEA, where 70% of school employees around the country sign the anti-fascist agreements to fight fascism over anything else, that it's so broken that there's 70% of the educators are socialists that we can't do it anymore? Or are you saying that we can rebuild it maybe down the road, but right now we got to just stop all money going to them, period?
Again, the first legislation that I will publish and post, which I've already drafted with Grok, is a Balanced Budget Act. And then the second is defunding the Big Beautiful Bill. Thomas Massey's already put forth this stuff. Now, I'm not saying anything that's going to not get shot down. Rand Paul put forward this 6-penny plan, got shot down by the Senate. So everything gets rejected. The herd, the mob that keeps voting for borrowing, spending, and taxing is the status quo, and it's not going away. I'm trying to lead a communications effort against the borrowing, spending, and taxing to bring people's conscious awareness higher to a level of fiscal prudence, understanding, self-governance, self-reliance. That quote by the Comte de Phoenix.
Anything you disagree with Thomas Massey
on? Not really. Everything he posts, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really disagree with anything. It's like transparent, political, transparent. I mean, he's playing a clean game to me, and he seems very intelligent. He's got these documentaries, the way he runs his life, his house. He's a scientist. He's an American. I think he's got a great understanding of our law, our history, and so there's very little that I disagree with him on. I mean, if you want to,
What about foreign funding for other countries?
yeah, he wants to cut it, and I want to cut it too. You can go to the State Department and view the top, 100 countries and what they're getting. The king's son in the United Nations, is shit talking.
I understand there's an equity, but your platform has zero funding to other nations?
I would personally go to zero funding. I would completely restrict all international funding, loans, any type of agreements, completely flush out the requisition system.
How about if the intelligence agency said to you, because you were one of the members of the Gang of Eight, if we stop funding country X, Y, and Z, our defense budget is going to have to increase more because this is what's going to potentially happen to the United States.
Well, let me
How
just
would you feel about that?
before I answer that question, before I answer your question, let me ask you this: should we still allow generals to present as women and be transgendered in the Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force? Should we still allow men to dress up as women in the military?
I don't know. First of all, I concur with that, but I don't know how that has any relevance to your gang. You're a member of the Gang of Eight, one of the most important congressmen because you've earned it. You've now sat in a national security skiff, and people have told you with a great deal of credibility that you trust and believe that by cutting foreign funding to X, Y, and Z, it makes the United States more dangerous. What happens? What do you do?
Listen, you can consider this your skiff, and I would just tell you that if I would do what Wrigley did, if I had $1 million, I'd spend $999,999 on advertising and $1 on product. I'm just saying that if you want to keep borrowing, spending, and taxing, you're more than welcome to stay in the status quo. That's a you problem, but I'm suggesting we all repeat: no more borrowing, no more spending, no more taxing. Can Americans actually say those words? It's only 3 variables, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course, virtually everybody in the world, in the United States with half a brain, would subscribe to those simple principles. No more borrowing, no more spending, and no more taxation. But I think there's a caveat, and I think you do as well. I think the caveat is that there's a necessary amount of taxing to minimally run services in both a municipality, a state, and in a republic. And you would like to find that sweet spot to the best of your ability. Isn't that really what you're trying to say? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but isn't that really what a grown man wants to do? That wants to be a member of the Gang of Eight?
Well, you keep mentioning Gang of Eight, and all I'm trying to really point out is a political economic philosophy theory, or run a mental mind simulation, because we can look at the actual projected numbers. We can go full Zimbabwe, and those $1 trillion notes now are collectibles. I'm not saying.
I agree that you believe that there is a certain minimal level of taxation on a federal, state, and local level that you would support.
Yeah, I feel like 10% is fair. That seems fair to me. No one should have to pay more than 10% of their total net income in taxation over a period of 365 days. And it
includes local tax.
Everything. Nothing should be more. Nobody should pay more than 10%. If you're going to tithe 10% to your church, why should we tithe more than 10% to the government?
Well, how do you do that in practice if John makes $300,000 a year and he has to pay $30,000 in total taxes, and Fred, because he's not as smart as John, makes only $150,000 a year, and he has to pay a total of $15,000. So how do we delve that up between state, local, and federal governments John's 30,000 and Fred's 15,000 when John lives in Chicago and Fred lives in New Jersey? How do we do that? Go ahead. I'm interested.
Okay. Are you willing to go on mute? I'm going to read a poem. It's about 60 seconds. It's going to answer your question. May not be the answer you want, but it's the answer I'm giving to you. You ready? It's called Distracting Thoughts. It's a poem I wrote to answer your question. I used Grok AI to create it. Evil thoughts can even arise during study and prayer and communication on X. And if they do, you should ignore them entirely and avert your mind from them immediately. Do not try to examine these thoughts, for that is a task for the righteous in whom evil finds no root. But the evil you experience is rooted in your own selfishness. Do not be dejected because of this. Rather, redouble your efforts on X to concentrate your mind, and in this way, fill yourself with joy and gladness, realizing that distractions arise because your prayer and study are approaching selflessness. When distractions arise, ignore them and answer not fools according to their folly, lest you too become a fool. What if you cannot ignore them? Then humble yourself before God and ask God to rescue you from these turbulent waters. Ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you that turbulent waters is the status quo. And there's nothing new under the sun, and everything that is has already been. But why didn't the internet solve some of these financial crises that are afoot? Why aren't there cost efficiencies? Why can't we communicate effectively? Why can't we have peace now?
$30,000 and Fred only paid $15,000 because you and I have agreed, and I'm okay with it, that 10% of John's income is $30,000 and 10% of Fred's income is $15,000. But John lives in Chicago and Fred lives in New Jersey. Without a poem, can you share with me what your thoughts would be on how Grok would solve this problem? Because apparently, I don't think the poem is going to solve the problem.
Okay, I'm going to break it down for you very simply. Listen closely. It's 3 simple variables. Repeat after me. Stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing. That's borrowing with a B, spending with an S. T with a tax. That's borrowing, spending, taxing. Borrowing, spending, taxing. Stop it. Stop borrowing. Stop spending. Stop taxing. Do you hear the words coming out of my mouth? Stop spending. Stop borrowing. Stop taxing us. Do you hear the words coming out of my mouth?
You got it. Well, the problem is the central banking system. If you have a central banking system based on fractional reserve banking, you can never stop borrowing and taxing because it's a system based on never having enough money.
John, last question before I go. When you jerk off, do you use cream or oil? Because this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
All right. Well, thank you for participating. You're on our YouTubes. That's about 15 different YouTubes, 3 different X's, 2 different Clubhouses. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't masturbate with creams. That's total projection on your part, sir.
Are you done, sir?
Oh, no, this show is still going. I'm going to read another little poem. You guys came. You guys donated. I just hope I leave you with a little joy. You weary me with proof enough that all this meditation stuff is self-hypnosis. Be it so. Do you suppose I did not know? Still, to be accurate, I fear the symptoms are entirely strange. If I were hard, I'd make it clear that criticism must arrange an explanation different for this particular event. Surely, your best work always finds itself so object of the minds. In vain you ply the brush, distracted by something you have heard or acted. Expect some tedious visitor. Your eye runs furtive to the door. Your hand refuses to obey. You throw the useless brush away. I think I hear the word you say. Others attain to a certain degree of illumination and then stumble seeking such occult powers as clairvoyance and clairaudience. Receive the gift, the Holy Ghost. Such gift implying, as I guess, this very superconsciousness. Miracles follow as a doer. Miracles follow as a dower. But they used the fatal power and lost the spirit in the act. Whilst others not attaining attempt a shortcut by means of such drugs as opium and hashish, the latter of which is most powerful in producing a state of pseudo-samadhi, to make me as one dead, to lose the girders of the soul and gain, breathing and life for the intelligible, find death, yet find it living. In the midst of my complicated hallucination, I could perceive I had a dual existence. One portion of me was whirled unresistingly along the track of this tremendous experience, and the other sat looking down from a height upon its double, observing, reassuring, and serenely weighing all the phenomena. Probably samadhi itself acts somewhat like this, but hashish produces at times, under certain conditions, severe suffering, and the yogi does not undergo such, for he leaves it in his wake. Hashish may in some way be the loosener of the girders of the soul, but this is all. Huxley says the influence of diet on dreams, of stimulants upon the fullness and the velocity of the stream of thought, the delirious phantoms generated by disease, by hashish, or by alcohol, will occur to everyone as examples of the marvelous sensitiveness of the apparatus of ideation to purely physical influences. Not by the pipings of a bird in skies of blue on fields of gold, but by a fierce and loathly word, the abomination must be told. The holy work must twist its spell from hemp of madness grown in hell. Others again do not possess the stability of mind, the natural health and strength so necessary in this severe mental struggle, as the Ribot says, it is all confined to an alienation in the etymological sense of certain states of consciousness which the ego does not consider as its own, but which it objectivates. And finally, by placing it outside itself, ends by attributing an actual existence independent of its own. Others attain but a glimpse. Maimonides long ago noticed. Learn that prophecy is an emanation from God, which flows through the intermediary of the active intellect upon the rational faculty first, and then upon the imaginative faculty. It is the highest degree of a man and the term of perfection to which the species may aspire. And this state is the highest perfection of the imaginative faculty. If the emanation flows into the imaginative faculty only, and if the rational faculty remains behind, either on account of original structure or from disuse, then is constituted the class of men called men of the state, diviners. There come to men of this class, even when they are awake, wonderful visions, similar to prophetic visions. They delight much in them, believing they have acquired all sciences without study. But all those who really do attain and remain silent. The Hindu practice says mysticus in time bears out Western speculation. Whether we take the shadowy idealism of Berkeley or the self-refuted monism of Haeckel, all these men got our results and interpreted them in the partial light of their varied intellect, their diverse surroundings and education. But the result is the same physiological phenomenon from Plato and Christ to Spinoza and Shankaracharya. from Augustine and Abelard, Bohm and Weigel in the Christian communities to Trismegistus and Porphyry, Mohammed and Paracelsus in the mystic palaces of wisdom, the doctrine is essentially one, and its essence is that existence is one. But to my experience, it is certain that in jhana, the ego is rejected. This is absolutely true of Berkeley when in the dialogues he writes, to know everything knowable is certainly a perfection, but to endure or suffer or feel anything by sense is an imperfection. The former, I say, agrees to God, but not the latter. God knows or hath ideas, but the ideas are not conveyed to him by sense as ours are. God to him is a Mahayogi. It is absolutely true of Hume, but Hume, studiously avoiding the word God, could find no helpmeet to fill his place. For my part, when I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception or other, of heat or cold, light or shade, love or hatred, pain or pleasure. I never can catch myself at any time without a perception, and never can observe anything but the perception. We only feel the event, namely the existence of an idea, consequent to the command of the will. But the manner in which this operation is performed, the power by which it is produced, is entirely beyond our comprehension. The command of the mind over itself is limited, as well as its command over the body. But these limits are not known by reason or any acquaintance with the nature of cause and effect, but only by experience and observation, as in all other natural events and in the operation of external objects. Our authority over our sentiments is much weaker than over our ideas, and even the latter authority is circumscribed within very narrow boundaries. Will any one pretend to assign the ultimate reason of these boundaries or show why the power is deficient in one case and not in another? Can we give any reason for these variations except experience? Where then is the power of which we pretend to be conscious? Is there not here, either in a spiritual or material substance, both some secret mechanism or structure of parts upon which the effect depends, and which, being entirely unknown to us, renders the power or energy of the will equally unknown and incomprehensible? We are ignorant, it is true, of the manner in which bodies operate on each other. Their force or energy is entirely incomprehensible. But are we not equally ignorant of the manner of or force by which a mind, even the supreme mind, operates either on itself or on body? Whence, I beseech you, do we acquire any idea of it? We have no sentiment or consciousness of this power in ourselves. We have no idea of the Supreme Being, but what we learn from reflection on our own faculties. Hume is ignorant of the Supreme Being, yet his ignorance is so naive that he all but lifted the veil of Isis. His ignorance is in every way equivalent to Berkeley's God. It is absolutely true of Kant, who set himself the question, must we believe that mysticism is like some vast ocean and the empire of illusion? And then again and again answered in the negative. He proposed time after time that reason be its own end, founded upon right and duty, and in the freedom of the person the moral sublimity of duty. It is not so much because it is subject to the moral law that the person has sublimity, but because it gives that law to itself and is not subject to it on any other condition. Expressing himself with regard to the free being, Kant says, in him no act would be born, and no act would perish. In other words, the free being is a yogi, pure and simple. Kant's a priori takes the place of Hume's ignorance, which we have seen was none other than Berkeley's God. It is absolutely true of Huxley, who was as astute a thinker as Hume. The succession of mental states is in ideation is not fortuitous. Thus, the idea of the word horse pretended itself to my mind and was followed in quick succession by the idea of 4 legs, hoofs, teeth, rider, saddle, racing, cheating, all of which ideas are connected in my experience with the impression or the idea of a horse and with one another by the relations of contiguity and succession. A. No great attention to what passes in the mind is needful to prove that our trains of thought are neither to be arrested nor even permanently controlled by our desires or emotions. Nevertheless, they are largely influenced by them. In the presence of a strong desire or emotion, the stream of thought no longer flows on in a straight course, but seems, as it were, to eddy round the idea of that which is the object of the emotion. Every one who has eaten his bread in sorrow knows how strangely the current of ideas whirls about the conception of the object of regret or remorse as a Santa, every now and then indeed breaking away into the new track suggested by passing associations, but still returning to the central thought. Few can have been so happy as to have escaped the social bore, whose pet notion is certain to crop up when whatever topic is started, when the fixed idea of the monomaniac is but the extreme form of the same phenomenon. Okay, that's a reading from J.F.C. Fuller, Star of the West, a critical essay upon the works of Aleister Crowley. This is candidate John. This is a long show. We're still going here. Viva, thanks for being here. We cleared out the house with the stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing. People can't take it. It's too traumatic for some people. People reject the programming. I'm trying to compress it and make it simpler for people by just saying stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing. It's called BST. Let's pass the BST HR Act to stop borrowing, stop spending, stop taxing.
Hustler was actually suggesting that Jerry Falwell had sex with his mother.
So why did Hustler have him and his mother together?
Hustler puts him and his mother together in a example of literary travesty, if you will.
And what public purpose does this serve?
Well, it serves the same public purpose as having Gary Trudeau say that Reagan has no brain or that George Bush is a wimp. It lets us look at public figures a little bit differently. We have a long tradition in this country of satiric commentary. Now, if Jerry Falwell can sue when there has been no libelous speech purely on the grounds of emotional distress, then so can other public figures. And imagine, if you will, suits against people like Gary Trudeau and Johnny Carson for what he says on the Tonight Show tonight. Obviously, when people criticize public figures, they're going to experience emotional distress. We all know that. It's the easiest thing in the world to claim, and it's impossible to refute, and that's what makes it a meaningless standard. Really, all it does is allow us to punish unpopular speech. And this country is founded, at least in part, on the firm belief that unpopular speech is absolutely vital to the health of our nation.
And there you have it from the people versus Larry Flint on the First Amendment. Yes, there, without question, was pressure was brought to bear by the government, specifically the FCC, because us people, we citizens of America own the airwaves, and the government, and specifically the FCC, are in charge of the public trust. And when there is something that goes across the airwaves, which, by the way, is radio and TV, it's not cable, it's not the internet, it's not YouTube. When it goes across the public airwaves, the FCC can get involved and, without question, brought pressure to bear. Now, was that illegal? FCC did, I stated the other day, and I'll state again, I don't know. But I know that FCC is responsible for keeping the public trust. If you want to come up and comment, that's fine. JCC, any thoughts? If not, I can absolutely play another clip that hopefully is relevant to the topic.
No, yeah, that clip was really awesome, spot
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah, it totally fits the appropriate time frame we're in right now. So with the FCC,
Yep.
like when broadcasters air something, the FCC can come down on them for what? What kind of violation?
Well, the most